Welcome everyone. In today's session, we will discuss an important topic in shipyard safety, hazards and precautions in the yard. Shipyards involve a wide variety of operations such as welding, cutting, painting, blasting, insulation work, and material handling. Because of this, workers are exposed to several health hazards and physical hazards, which we must clearly understand. Let us begin with health hazards. Chemical hazards are major concerns in shipyards. Workers are exposed to dust from abrasive blasting operations and they may come into contact with asbestos and mineral fibers. During insulation work, vapor and spray mists from paints, coatings, solvents, and thinners also pose risk. In addition, fumes generated from welding, burning, soldering, and brazing operations can be very harmful. Worker may also inhale gases used in welding, burning, and heating processes. There are also specific toxic chemicals found in epoxy resins, organotin, and copper anti-fouling paints, lead bands, oils, greases, pigments, and other coatings. All of these contribute to chemical exposure risk in the shipyard environment. Next, we look at physical hazards. Because much of the work is performed outdoors, temperature and weather extremes are common. Worker faces electrical hazards and ergonomic problems from repetitive handling of large, heavy, and bulky materials. CPRs also involves exposure to both ionizing and non-ionizing radiation during testing and welding. Noise and vibrations are constant issues, especially when working with metal. Oxygen deficiency and confined space hazards are also significant, especially in tanks, double bottoms, and other tight compartments. Slips, trips, and falls can occur on the same level, and there is always the danger of falling from great heights on scaffolds, ladders, decks, and staging. Preventive measures. Now let's understand preventive measures. The most effective control is substitution or elimination. This means we remove or replace hazardous processes. For example, using hydraulic lifting tables instead of manual lifting reduces ergonomic injuries. Replacing solvent-based paints with water-based coatings reduces exposure to harmful vapors. Automation and robotics are used to eliminate processes hazards wherever possible. Isolation is the next method. Here we separate hazard processes from employees. For example, locating high noise equipment farther away from workers' place help reduce exposure levels. Another approach is enclosure. This can mean enclosing equipment operators in booths to protect them from noise, heat, cold, or chemical hazards. Process like painting and welding may also be done in enclosed spray booths or welding booths. Ventilation is extremely important in shipyards. Local exhaust systems are used to capture toxic materials at the point of generation. Many fans and blowers are placed on deck and air is exhausted or blown into confined compartment to control welding fumes, paint vapors, gases, and oxygen levels. Administrative controls helps by limiting the time workers spend in hazardous area. This is often done by rotating workers between low hazard and high hazard jobs so that individual exposure is reduced even though the total exposure time for the task remains the same. Finally, we come to personal protective controls. Due to confined nature of ships and limited space inside vessels, shipyards rarely rely heavily on personal protective equipments or PPE. Let us look at PPE requirements by activity. Welding, cutting, and grinding. During welding, cutting, and grinding, workers are exposed to metallic fumes, dust, and particulates. Ventilation may not always be sufficient, so welders must use respirators. They also require eye protection against ultraviolet and infrared radiation, and they must wear welding gloves, long sleeves, flame resistant clothing, and face protection to guard against sparks and molten metal. Abrasive blasting is another operation requiring high level protection. Small parts may be blasted inside enclosed gloves boxes, but most work is done manually on large components either outdoors or in large bays. Blaster must wear full body protection, hearing protection, and air-fed respirators with great deep breathing air. Crystalline silica is generally not recommended, and in some countries it is banned. Painting must be done quickly after blasting to prevent flash rusting. Painting handle coatings that often contain solvents or pigments like zinc. Many paints are epoxy based, so painters must use negative pressure or positive pressure respirators along with coveralls, gloves, shoe covers, and eye protection. Painting in confined spaces requires air supplied respirators and a full confined space entry program. Shipyards have constant overhead hazards because of cranes and overhead work. Therefore, hard hats are mandatory in all production areas. Insulation work exposes workers to asbestos during repairs and to fiberglass or mineral fibers in new construction. Full body protection and respiratory protection are essential in these activities. Shipyards are extremely noisy environments because metalworking generates noise that often exceeds safe limits. Hearing protection is required whenever engineering controls cannot sufficiently reduce noise levels. Foot hazards are widespread. Since heavy metals, tools, and uneven walking surfaces are common, safety shoes or boots are required throughout the production area. Workers face multiple eye hazards, ultraviolet and infrared radiation from welding arcs, metalworking, dust and particles, abrasive blasting, grit, and exposure to chemicals like caustics and paint sprayers. Therefore, safety glass are required throughout the yard and specialized protection is used for welding and blasting. Finally, let's talk about lead hazards. Older coating in ships often contain lead, and nuclear ships use lead as a radiation shielding material. Repair work may involve removing old lead-based coatings, requiring full body protection including coveralls, gloves, respirators, shoe covers, and head protection. So let's conclude our today's lecture. Shipyard present numerous chemicals and physical hazards, but through substitution, isolation, enclosure, ventilation, administrative controls, and the proper use of PPE, we can significantly reduce risk. Understanding hazards and precautions is essential for ensuring safety in shipbuilding and repair operations. Thank you. Thank you for watching.